Hello there! Welcome to the third and final video in this festive series of project tutorials. If you haven't seen the first two projects, don't worry, you can still catch up with them over on Pottery Club. They're there waiting for you. If you're not yet a member of Pottery Club, you can check out what it's all about with the link underneath the video. I'm Cara from Cara Lee Ford Ceramics. I've been a full-time potter for over 6 years now, and I'm here to help you with your own pottery journey. Pottery Club is where I share pottery projects, tips and technique videos, as well as answering all of your pottery questions. It's the perfect place to learn, get advice, share your makes and your mistakes, as well as your breakthroughs. It's where I share all of mine. It's my honour to help you with your own pottery projects. Just think of me as your pottery agony aunt. I've made this video free as a little taster so you can get an idea of what Pottery Club is all about. For those that are already members, thank you so much. I couldn't be doing this without you. Let's get on with the project. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these gorgeous festive Christmas baubles. I'll be taking you through the entire making process, from throwing on the wheel to trimming to firing and glazing. I would say this is a little bit of a more advanced tutorial. There are some intricate techniques and fiddly moments I'm going to talk you through, but I have some great tips I'm sharing with you today to help you avoid potential mistakes and push your making skills further. Together we're going to be practicing throwing off the hump, trimming difficult shapes, and experimenting with glazing and firing. I've worked out a way of firing these baubles without having to hang them on wire. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. The type of clay I'm using for this project is a white stoneware. It's called Earthstone ES10. I chose this clay because it's smooth to throw with, and it is a nice blank canvas for the bright coloured glazes I'm planning on using. You can use any clay you have in your studio. This would be a good project to use up any earthenware you may have hanging around. Earthenware glazes are bright and vivid. As these are for decoration only, you can use exciting decorative glazes not suitable for functional wear. I'm starting with 1.8 kilos of clay. I'm going to be throwing off the hump today. This clay has been reclaimed, so I'm going to need to wedge it really well to make sure there are no air bubbles. Throw down the clay into the middle of the wheel. Roughly centre it. Because you're only working with a smaller section at one time, it doesn't matter if the main bulk isn't perfectly centred. Cone the clay up and down 2 to 3 times. This will help to homogenise it and get the top centred. If you struggle, don't forget to anchor your foundation arm in the crook of your hip or on the side of your splash pan. Make sure your wheel is going at full speed. Cone up and down a small section of clay. About a handful will be enough. Find the centre and push your middle or index finger down about 1 or 2 centimetres. You don't need to go very far, as the height you will need will come from pulling up the walls. I'm supporting the clay on the side with my left hand. Open out the clay only by a centimetre or 2. Take a moment to compress the base. This is important to avoid S-cracks. Using my sponge, now I'm going to pull up the walls. The height will depend upon the size of the bauble you want to make. For the size decoration I'm making in this project, I will pull up a cylinder of clay about 8 to 10 centimetres. You want your walls to be quite thin, as you don't want your decoration to be too heavy. Use a sponge on a stick to take out any standing water. Now you want to start colouring in the top of your cylinder. Make sure the outside of your clay is glossy with water. Be careful not to add any standing water on the inside, as this could cause an explosion in your kiln. I'm using my fingers and thumbs to colour in. Colouring in causes the walls to become thicker, so you want to pull up the clay as you colour it to thin it out. I'll alternate between colouring and pulling until I have closed up my form completely. It will look a bit like an upside down teardrop shape. Now collar in at the bottom. Don't worry too much if it goes a bit wobbly. You can steady it in the next step. Now we're going to use a bendy rubber kidney to refine the shape of your bauble. Slightly bend the kidney and hold it against the side of your form, gently supporting with your other hand. This will scrape off the slip and finish the final curved profile of your bauble. Once you're happy, cut your bauble off the wheel. Make sure you leave ample clay beneath where you cut. This is important for the trimming stages. Leave it to dry out for a day or so until it's leather hard. If you lose some of your baubles, don't worry, it happens. Try and understand what went wrong and start again. I made the walls too thin on this one. It got wobbly and tore off. If you struggle throwing off the hump, or you need a reminder of the techniques used, I made another video which talks you through it in detail. It's available to watch over in Pottery Club now. Because these decorations are an odd shape, you're going to need to make a chuck in order to trim them. A chuck can be a simple volcano of clay you throw on the wheel. It doesn't really matter how big your chuck is, as long as it's tall enough to accommodate the height of the form you're trimming, and sturdy enough so that it can hold its shape, taking into account the pressure of your trimming. The key is that the chuck opening needs to be slightly narrower than the widest part of your form, so it will be able to sit inside the rim securely. For further details on how to throw a chuck, I've linked a video below. I found that a bell I threw for a previous tutorial, Festive Bells tutorial, was the perfect shape to help hold my decoration inside the chuck. You don't need to have a ready-made bell, of course. You can use the chuck you've just thrown and dry it out a little with a heat gun. First, use a Sureform tool to take some of the bulk off the end and make it more or less flat. This will make trimming easier. I dampen the inside rim of the bell and place the decoration pointy end down. You can just place your bauble directly into your chuck. I'll use a metal loop tool to trim down the shoulder of the bauble. You may have to reposition it within the chuck a couple of times, as it can shift. I'll then trim the bottom so it's perfectly flat. This is important. We are trimming the neck of the form to be able to hang the bauble, but also to be a tiny plinth on which it can sit on the kiln shelf. I'm going to use this tiny triangular loop tool to trim down the neck further. You want to leave a little button of clay approximately 4 to 5 millimeters wide by a similar height. Once I've finished trimming, I'm going to use a metal spoon to burnish the clay and make it nice and smooth. I'll turn it upside down and burnish the other side too. I'll also burnish the little plinth, as this will help it remain strong for the next step. This is where I'm going to add the hole needed for hanging. You must be very careful at this stage, as going too close to the edge could cause the clay to crack. It's also best for the clay to be slightly on the wetter side of leather hard, as too dry will also cause the clay to crack. These forms are great for experimenting with sgraffito or carving to give your baubles texture and create unique designs. Before leaving them to dry, you'll want to add a small hole in the bauble, which will allow the air to escape. If you forget this step, they may crack or explode during drying or firing. Once finished, allow the baubles to dry completely. After a few days, and once they're bone dry, they're ready to bisque fire. Be careful whilst handling and loading the baubles, as they have a tendency to roll, and they're very delicate at the greenware stage. Breakages are likely unless care is taken. I'll lay the baubles on their sides to fire them. My schedule for this bisque fire is 80 degrees centigrade per hour up to 300 degrees, then 200 degrees centigrade per hour up to 900 degrees. Now for the glazing. Firstly, prep your bisque baubles like you would any other form. Wet sand any gnarly bits with a diamond sanding pad or sandpaper. Make sure you wet sand or use a respirator to avoid breathing any dust. Wipe off the bisque with a damp sponge to capture any dust or debris. Let them dry completely before starting to glaze. I'm using 3 different glazes here in various combinations, but you can use whichever you fancy. This is a great project to use up any small amounts of glaze you may have left hanging around. I'm using Mako Lilac Matte, Bath Potter's Lavender, and Mako Celadon Bloom. These are brush-on glazes, but as with all glazes, they need to be stirred really well. I will stir each pot for at least 1 minute. I might add a little water too if they were a bit thick. You'll want to use a wide, soft bristled brush to apply the glazes. Make sure your brush is fully loaded with glaze. To achieve the speckled grey effect, I layered 2 coats of Celadon Bloom with 3 coats of matte pink. To achieve the pink and blue combo, I used 5 coats of pink with 3 coats of lavender, alternating between the 2 colours. Where the 2 glazes overlap, they create a third colour with interesting effects. It's really important to wait for each layer to dry before applying the next. You're going to need to employ a bit of potter's patience here. If you try and brush on the glaze whilst it's still tacky, you may pull off some of the coat you've just applied. I tried to get my baubles to stand whilst they dried. This was a little tricky as my tabletop isn't completely flat. You may need to just hold them or put them on newspaper while you're waiting for each layer to dry. To help you remember how many layers you've done, splodge a mark on your table with your brush with the colour you've just applied. You can sponge this off later. Once you've applied all your layers, check the holes to make sure they haven't been filled with glaze. This is so you can still hang them. Use a clean damp sponge to clean up any stray glaze. You need the plinth to be completely free of glaze. You're going to wait for them to dry completely before transferring them over to the kiln. I'm going to show you how I make my baubles stand up in the kiln. I got this idea from using sausages of clay to hold my cone packs. If clay can hold up a cone, then I could use this method to help hold up a bauble, right? I use slightly stiff clay for this, the same type as I used to make the baubles. I'll roll out small marbles of clay and then push the plinth of the bauble into the soft clay. I will actually do this whilst I'm loading the kiln, but it was difficult to film this, so I'm recreating what I do here on the table so you can see. You want there to be enough clay to form a little cushion which will help hold the plinth, but not too much so it will be difficult to get it off afterwards. You need to make sure the clay doesn't come in contact with any glaze at all, otherwise it will stick. If your plinths are large and flat enough and your baubles evenly weighted, you might not even need the clay. Now I'll take these to the kiln. I'll place kiln cookies on the shelf to catch any glaze drips or baubles which may fall, though I have my fingers and toes crossed that none do. Then I'll make a little clay marble to support each bauble and carefully squish them into it, making sure they are relatively stable. I'll space out the baubles so if one falls, it doesn't take the whole lot with it. If you're not confident your baubles will stand on their own, you can of course fire them on nichrome wire. Check out the Festive Bells tutorial for details of that process. Now I'll fire this lot to cone 5 and pray to the kiln gods they all come out okay. Okay, let's see how our Christmas decorations are doing. The kiln is cool enough so that we can open it. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So we've lost 2. Oh, this little dude. Oh dear. He fell over and must have knocked his friend over as well. He's not stuck, so that's okay. Cool. Yep, he survived. But the rest are looking great. Let me just show you how to take off the little plinths. So you just literally just kind of pick them off and they should release quite easily. Yay! I'm so pleased. Now to just thread them on some ribbon and hang them on my tree. I think the reason this one fell over was because it was a little top heavy. He may not have been very well balanced. I don't think this kind of shape is a great one for firing this way. Also, I think the plinth might have been a little small in comparison with the other ones. When I make these again, I'm going to make sure my plinths are big enough, and I'll only make shapes with the weight distributed towards the bottom. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions at all, pop them in the comments below on Patreon or via the Facebook group. I want to take this opportunity to thank you all so much for all of your support throughout this year. I couldn't be doing what I'm doing without you. I hope you've enjoyed all of the projects and tutorials in Pottery Club this year. I hope it's helped you progress with your own pottery making. I'm going to take a wee break over Christmas, but I'll be back in the new year with some wonderful new projects, guest tutorials, tips and techniques especially for you. I'll still be popping up in Instagram and in the Facebook group. And if you're not yet a member of Pottery Club, then do check it out with the link beneath this video. If you celebrate Christmas, a very Merry Christmas to you. If you don't, then I wish you a peaceful couple of weeks. Okay, thanks so much, guys. Lots of love. I'll see you soon. Bye.